Weeman's Winter of Wrestling returns one more time this year. It's cutting really close to the end again, but I just like to do that. You know, bookends and everything start on the first day of winter and on the last day of winter. Of course, I thought the last day of winter was going to be the 20th, not the 19th, so I had to rush a little to get this done. But here we are anyway, with Fire Pro Wrestling Returns on the PlayStation 2. This, of course, being the second game that I'm doing that has nothing to do with the WWE at all. I mean, there's going to be a few guys that wrestled for World Wrestling Entertainment on here, but it's not a WWE game, and there's plenty to say about this game because a lot of people hail it as the greatest wrestling game of all time. And personally, I think it is definitely one of the best. There's only one game that I can think is better, and I've got my reasons for that. I'll get into it as we go. Well, let's talk about what Fire Pro Wrestling Returns really is. The Fire Pro Wrestling series has been mostly a Japanese-only wrestling series, or at least when they get released in America, they come out a few years later. In the case of this game, it was originally released in 2005 and then came out in America in 2007. I found it in a Future Shop one day, and I'm just like, hey, this is 20 bucks, why not buy it? And I was blown away just by how great so many things in this game is. And as you can see right now, I just selected a single match, and it's giving me all these different options I can go through. The roster is huge. You got wrestlers from all over Japan, Mexico, all over the world, even American legends. We're going to be doing a match here between Terry Funk and Terry Gordy. Of course, in this game, all of the wrestlers are renamed so as to avoid copyright situations, and this even goes for all the Japanese wrestlers, so even though they might have Japanese-sounding names, that is not their actual name. Antonio Inoki will not be named Antonio Inoki in this game. You have to go find and figure out who that is. But the good news is you can rename everyone. This is a fresh file. I unfortunately don't have my old file anymore because it was on my old fat model PS3 that still had PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility. So we're going to see Kerry Texan taking on Kerry Boggy in this match. Of course, those being Terry Funk and Terry Gordy, two legends who were maybe not the biggest names in America. I mean, I guess Terry Funk had some good success in America, and Terry Gordy did as part of the Freebirds, but a lot of their success came in Japanese wrestling, overseas. And there are a lot of guys like that, like Vader's in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Stan Hansen's in this game. And you got other stars who wrestled in Japan, maybe didn't make their name there, but definitely had a presence, like Andre the Giant, the Road Warriors, you know, all those types of guys here and there. So Fire Pro Wrestling is a 2D wrestling game. Now, released in 2007, you might be thinking, well, isn't that kind of a step back? We have all these 3D wrestling games, and they play pretty good. I mean, there's SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, which is a really good game, and that was released just a couple years before this. Or no, it was released at the same time pretty much, because this was released in 2005, of course. So what makes this game so great? It's clearly not the graphics. I mean, as far as the sprites go, they're not bad, but they could be better. It's the gameplay. The gameplay in this game is incredible. The wrestling is just amazing. It's so perfect, so precise. Everything is... If you were to watch a match between Terry Gordy and Terry Funk, it would probably play out something like it's going to play out right here, right now. And what I mean is, these guys, the CPU, will make their wrestler do the right move at the right time in the match. They will do certain moves at certain times. They will do certain taunts at certain times. They will know when to take a break. They will know when to do a dirty move. They will know when to do a pin. They will know when to pin more frequently or less frequently. They will know maybe when it's time to take a high risk at the top rope. They will know when to throw someone outside of the ring. They will know when to do dirty moves and clean moves, play to the crowd. The logic in this game, bar none, is the best in a wrestling game ever. I don't think it has gotten any better than that. I don't think that... Well, I think there actually has been a Fire Pro game after this, but it was an Xbox 360 or Xbox One exclusive, one of those two, and it was based around using your Xbox avatar. So obviously it was just kind of a cash grab type game. Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, I believe, is the de facto way to play a Fire Pro Wrestling game. If you want to play these games, you play them on the PlayStation 2 or on an emulator if you have to do that. I don't recommend emulators just because, you know, playing PS2 emulators, you need a beefy computer in the first place, but I'd rather just be playing it on my PS2. And you know, that it's not illegal that way. That's the main reason. And even if you can't find this on PS2, it's on PSN on the PS3, so you have no excuse not to find this. I think it might even be cheaper there. I don't know, I'd have to check the price. But I highly recommend it. Now, while I was going on about the CPU logic, the biggest problem I have with this game is playing it isn't very fun. Because everything has to be so precise and so exact. There's a lot of timing involved. It is not a wrestling game where you can just go in and mash buttons and hope for the best. You have to have precise timing. It's like playing a super amped up Street Fighter wrestling game. If you are just a few pixels off when you do a strike, you will whiff that strike. You will whiff that punch, that kick, that drop kick, whatever it might be. If you're too close, you might not go into a grapple hold, and you'll give your opponent a time to retaliate. And the CPU will get that timing right. He will get those windows right. All that frame data and all that crap, he will get it right, especially if you have him set to 10. I get killed when I have the CPU set to 1 in this game, so I do not like playing this game very much. But I really do enjoy watching the CPU do matches. This is, bar none, the best game for simming out there. If you want to simulate your own federation, you do it with Fire Pro. As far as playing the game, if you took the time to learn all the timing and all the spacing and everything and all that, if you got all that down, it probably wouldn't be too bad, but it has a very high learning curve. So you really don't want to buy this game if you're looking just for a casual wrestling experience. If you're looking just to do your own little federation here, have your own guys or whatever, and just have fun with it, sure, nothing wrong with that. Now, aside from your basic match types, this game also boasts an 8-player mode where you can have up to 8 people playing at one time, which is probably one of the only ways you'd have fun playing this with other people, because, again, all the preciseties, I think I might have just made that word up, but preciseties, all the timing and all that stuff. There are death matches, you know, like you have your exploding C4 and barbed wire death matches, stuff that I really don't like watching, but it's kind of fun to play as, or play through, so it's not so bad. I mean, you still have all the other problems that I've been constantly mentioning here. But hitting someone with a light tube is kind of fun. Another very notable feature about this game, though, is its Creator Wrestler mode, and that's because of all the logic involved, like I was talking about earlier, but also because this is a 2D game and it's really easy to edit everything. You can download saves, and these saves can be like modern-day WWE roster. People are still making stuff for this game, even though it was released almost 10 years ago now. Actually, it was released 10 years ago now. It's 2015, what am I talking about? But you could get old ECW, WCW, old WWF, old New Japan, AWA, whatever you want, really. And you could have this giant roster, and there is a league mode where you can set up your own league and everything. And that is probably what draws the fans the most. To play through this league mode and have your own roster and do whatever you want while watching these matches play out as they would in real life. That is, in my opinion, that is the main attraction of this game. And it works well. I mean, like I said, if you're not very good with editing the logic and editing people to make them look as they're supposed to, just find a save. Because there are people out there who are so dedicated to this game that they will get everything right. If you were looking for Dolph Ziggler, they would have a Dolph Ziggler who would do his big moves when desperation time kicks in, you know, like his DDT, his Fameasser, his multiple elbow drops. He would hit his finisher, maybe with it, maybe the guy would be hanging onto the ropes. Everything would work as it would in real life. So seriously, if you're looking for a wrestling game where you just want to sit back and sim and watch as things go as they should, you could probably even create your own unique original wrestlers and create your own league from that. You can even edit the guys in-game. And in fact, you should probably do that if you want to get everyone to have the right names. Because, I mean, just because I can tell who Terry Funk is doesn't mean everyone can. Just because I can tell who Dr. Death Steve Williams is doesn't mean everyone can. Actually, something I found a little distasteful is that Road Warrior Hawk in this game is called a Undead Warrior or something like that. It's pushing it a little, I think, but I guess you know who he is. I haven't really talked about the music in this game. I talked about the graphics and how they're okay. They're nothing special, but they're okay. They work. You can tell who's who. The music in this game is really fucking good, and I mean, it's video game music is what it sounds like. It sounds like this was a game made in Japan with that type of video game style music. And it's fun to listen to. I don't even mind it playing during the matches, and if you've watched any of my other Weeman's Witcher of Wrestling videos, you know that that's something it's just a pet peeve of mine when music plays in a match. It just distracts me. But in this game it doesn't, because even though this game has super hyper-realistic logic settings and all that, it's actually still kind of an arcadey type game. And I don't just mean that because the graphics are cartoony and they're 2D. It's still got a very arcade feel to it, and maybe that is just the music coming in, maybe it is just the graphics, but it's still fun to play. Or, well, sim and watch play. I don't think it's too fun to actually play. But that's it, Fire Pro Wrestling returns. If I could recommend this, I'd recommend it for anyone looking to sim or anyone really looking to take the time and learn how to play the game. I obviously don't have that patience, but some people do. You can find this game on the PS3 on the PlayStation Network. You can find it for the PS2, probably in any old used game store. I don't know if it's too rare or not. I'd have to check that out. It might be, because, you know, this game was probably only released limited in North America. I got lucky when I found it for 20 bucks, but that was when it first came out. Out here, anyway. But that's Weeman's Winter of Wrestling for this year. I'm not sure where we're going next year. Depends on when I get a new capture card, but there are other wrestling games out there. So maybe over the course of the year you will see more from this, maybe more in the WWE SmackDown vs. Raw series, maybe not. After this, I'm just going to be continuing on with my other gameplay playthroughs, and until then, I will see you all later.